everyone, this is a Greyshot once having you another review of Made in Abyss, another anime from Amazon Prime that I've been able to watch, and oh boy, I have things to say about this anime. So, Made in Abyss stars cute, chibi-like characters who go into this abyss, which is this, extremely long cavern that just goes straight down, and has multiple different layers to it. Each layer, once you get down, becomes more progressively darker and hell-like, I would say, in terms of what you fight, what you find, and what you have to deal with. But that's not all. When you return up, you have equally worse side effects. One example, layer 1, you may experience some light dizziness and some, light stuff. Like area 2, some vomiting. Area 3, hallucinations. And by the end of it, you're dead. Simply put, you're dead. So, what do I have to say about this show? This show may look like a cute, awesome little kid's cartoon. Do not, under any circumstances, show your kid this. This may look like something like Dora the Explorer or something, where it's like two really adorable little characters going down into the abyss to find one of the characters' mom. And one of the other characters is an android. They're both going down to this abyss. And you're like, okay, cool. And one thing I will say, the animation is fantastic. This series is gorgeous. And again, I do not use that. This looks like a Ghibli film. Honestly, it looks so damn good. Like, if I could just, again, some amazing background shots and just gorgeous animation. But again, it's mixed in with like these chibi characters. But again, these characters aren't static. I know when a lot of shows increase the detail, it takes a lot longer and they don't move as much. No, they have fluid motion in this. It looks really damn good, and all the characters are very vibrant and have a lot of energy to them. And again, I like that about this, because again, not only are they highly detailed, but they have fluid motion and animation. So that's also something that I really do enjoy. Not a lot of 3D components. There's some, but not a whole lot. But here's the thing I will say going into this. And again, I won't say why. That'll be in spoilers. But this is one of the darkest shows that I've seen. This show is, I would say, even darker than Inuyashiki, which I just went over. And so I will say this. Do not go into this thinking this is a cutesy little anime. Because it will punch you in the gut repeatedly with the notion like, no, this is for adults. And I don't even, it's hard because I look at the style, I'm like, oh, this is for younger kids. And then I go in and I'm like, okay, the first 3 episodes are slow. And then you start getting into like the mid-series, like, okay, this is a little bit darker. And then by the last 4 or 5 episodes, you're like, oh God, please stop. I would like my heart back now. But yeah, it's again, I'm not saying anything bad about the characters. The two, Rico and Reg, are both really, really good characters. And I like each of their different ideas, their not powers, but what they bring to the table. Because again, Reg is the cyborg type kid, so he has a few different powers, like extendo arms, stuff like that. Whereas Rico is an explorer. Her mom was a white whistle. For those who don't know, it's like a whistle is like a different sort of ranking system. So if you get a white whistle, you've gone down to the lowest parts imaginable of the cavern and have seen the worst stuff imaginable. But you've come back up and brought together all this information. Now, for those, I think the time period of this is like 1800s, judging by the technology. I could very well be wrong about that, but that's what I see through this with the technology they're given. Maybe early 1900s, but like I said, it's not modern day. Because again, they show some ships and architecture, and it's like, this seems definitely in the past at some point, but not too far in the past. Well, probably like at least 70 to 150 years, I would say, between there. Because again, they have a little bit of electricity, but they don't. They have metal boats, but again, just certain things yes, certain things no. But anyway, so the reason I also bring that up in case you're like, oh, why don't they just send a drone or something down there? Well, they don't. The reason people go down there is A, for the adventure, and B, to find relics, which are very valuable. So if you find a relic, which are these old piece of technology that look like from another empire, you can go down there. It also looks like it looks like the cavern is, when you go all the way down, seems to be either like every single layer seems to be like a new section. So I'm very curious to see if it's slowly like something's pushing something down, which is why you see a bunch of older relics from older people. There's also this common thing, which is they show in the very beginning, of a lot of people praying. Like a lot of people are a lot of skeletons are in a praying position, which they find all around the relic, which they're not sure why everyone's in this like position, but that's how everyone is. But yeah, there's a lot of hidden darkness in this film, in the TV show in the very beginning, and then it just gets progressively worse. Oh boy. And again, I can't say that enough. This show is really dark, and hold on to yourself if you're going to watch this, because again, the trek into the abyss is not something that, oh, it's so kitty and cute. Well, it is at first, and then it punches you. So without that, and with that out of the way, let me get into the score. If I had to give a rating for this show, I would probably have to give it a 9 out of 10. And before you say, Greyshot, why would you give it a 9? Characters are fantastic. I like each of their backstories. There's some new characters that you get introduced to. Have a really great story. There's a ton of mystery. The world building is fantastic. The animation is awesome. The OPs are, once again, very cutesy and will kind of get you in this one way, but it's not like that at all. The reason I bring it down from point, because again, the only problem I have with this is the style and the entrance. It kind of coaxes you like Monica Magica and to think, oh, this is cutesy. But Monica Magica, even at the beginning, the darkest that Monica Magica got wasn't too extreme. This, I feel, will disturb young kids. Monica Magica will definitely mess with kids, and I feel like they could still get what's going on. This is even darker than that, and I'll explain a little bit more why in the spoiler section. But yeah, I would say a 9 out of 10. Just be warned about this series. Spoilers. Greyshot? How bad could this show be? Well, the main character gets impaled by a very poisonous creature. Okay, so what's the big deal about that? Well, after being trained for the mid-season, which I say like it's a little bit darker about the dangers down there, and also seeing animals that literally will fake help cries to get people to lure in and then eat them. So you do see dead bodies I think by the 4th episode. So the 4 through 7 mark or 8 is okay, things are getting darker, and they get in perilous situations where it's we have to get out of here before we get digested and stuff like that. Again, not too bad, but there are also moments where they have to go up, and when they go up, the 4th area that they get to is, if you go that far down, if you start going up, you start bleeding from every open sore. So you see a young child bleeding from her eyes, her ears, again, everywhere, and including the area she was impaled. So, and also her hand, gets very big. So you have Rig, again, an android, trying to chop off the girl's hand to save her. Yeah, so we got Walking Dead level moments. And no, that is not the worst thing. That is gut-wrenching, because you think Rico is going to die. And I honestly think, oh, she is going to die right now and lose her hand. No, she doesn't. She gets saved by Nanachi? Oh, hold on. Let me... yes. Which, by the way, I kept seeing this character pop up. I'm like, okay, when's this person going to pop up? And I think it was episode 9 or 10. This character pops up, and I'm like, okay, cool. Finally. I think it was the end of 9 and actually time to get introduced. But I'm like, alright, cool. That's alright. So what's this bunny type thing? Well, and I'm thinking okay, this is stupid. We're now in okay, it's a cute male rabbit. Alright, how's this... again, what's gonna happen here? Well, again, Nanachi does nurse back Rico, sort of, back to it, with Rico having some pretty messed up nightmares while she's going through recovery, and eventually, they did have to cut off her arm, but essentially, just to give perspective, her, they tried to start cutting off here, it didn't work, so they did some repairs, but also they had to, implant mushrooms to suck away the poison and remove the swelling, so them removing it's also terrifying. But no, that's not the worst part about this. So, Mitty. Oh my god. Mitty. Oh boy. If you've ever watched The Fly, and yes, that's how messed up it is. The Fly 2, which it was a 1980 8 or 9 sequel to the 86 film. It's a relatively bad movie, but there's one part that really fucked me up as a kid while watching it was the dog, and having that dog like transformed, and it still they're keeping it alive for testing purposes, and the guy having to put down his best friend, which was the dog, like that type of moment. Well, the reason I bring that up is because it has a more gruesome, horrifying transformation of a white whistle on the level 5, like taking kids down into the abyss, into this fortress that they've made, and testing kids. And by the way, you see hundreds of these like examples of being tested. So just put in perspective. And what happens is he sends them further down to level 6. And every time they say level 6 is either death or something worse. And you're like, okay, what's worse than death? You get transformed, and I kid you not, you watch this happen. Two kids. You watch this kid. So you have Nachi in one tank and Midi in another, and this young girl. They get sent down in glass tubes. And the idea is there's some type of force field that's the creation of this abyss that's keeping these relics there from this ancient civilization, something like that. Anyway, the force field or whatever is the cause of whatever's affecting these humans for when they go down. Alright, so anyway, the reason I bring this up is when they go up. And that's the big thing, when they go up. Nanachi gets the good energy. So he gets good, I should probably quotation marks. So he gets forcibly transformed to a rabbit. You're like, okay, that's terrifying. But this entire time, you have these screams of Midi, who's being deformed, who is like getting these legions on her back, who's having her like mouth split open, her eyes kind of bulge out, and just it's slowly going from like save me, like I can take this, save me, to kill me, until her voice becomes so transmorphed that you can't understand a word she's saying. Oh no, it gets worse, by the way. So Midi is still alive, and they do further tests, and they realize that Midi cannot die. So they kill her repeatedly, using all sorts of tactics, and you see that, and her slowly regenerate, and all you just hear is like her screams of pain as they do this. This is all in flashback, in episode 13, I believe. Again, I just like, oh god. Anyway, so then you see this, and then eventually Midi, loses an eye, because again, she just, every time she like regenerates, not a piece of her is lost. So then Nanachi gets her, escapes from that place, and makes it up to the 4th level. And again, tries to kill her using poison, doesn't work. So nothing can kill Midi. Again, I'm glad I'm on spoilers for this. So then they use Reg, who has this like laser gun in his hand that like it destroys everything in the way, which is great and visually awesome. But unfortunately, he gets knocked out for a couple hours after he uses it. So it's like, yeah, he has to be very careful about using it as a last resort. Anyway, so he uses it on Midi, they set up a plate like area where Midi has her old dolls and all this other stuff that Nanachi was able to collect, and they euthanize her, and it's it's a long shot. They don't hold back. There's a moment where they stop for Nanachi to say a final goodbye, and oh my god, it is fucking brutal. And that's why I'm just like, do not show your kid, like, do not show a very young kid that, because that would eat them up. That's why I'm like, oh wow. Yeah, and like I said, it's pretty dark, even for me. I'm like, I can handle dark stuff, but that was like, oh, that seriously got to me, which is probably, yeah, yeah. So again, if I had to state, it's a fantastic show, highly recommended, but just take note of how dark it is. I also like the secrets of like, it looks like Reg lost his memory, but again, may have known Rico's mother. There's history with this grave on level 5. There's also a bunch of different things from this virus that's going around on the townspeople on the very top around this cavern. Like literally, the abyss goes straight down, but along the top of it is this whole town that's kind of built around it for like, again, for the purpose of like making money off the relics. And there are kids that are dying, but then of course they take the kid off the island and onto a boat, and the kid's fine. So you have these little mystery bits, which are very interesting. And again, I'm very glad there's season 2, because if this was just one season, I would not be happy with this, because again, this feels like a setup, and if I'm waiting for part 2. But like I said, one thing I will say is the manga is still ongoing, so I don't know how far they can push it. Apparently there's 6 volumes, so maybe they can keep going, but like I said, I'm very interested to see how this world develops, what mysteries, further mysteries they find, and hopefully answers to some. I want to know what happened to Riko's mom, but yeah, this is a very dark show, and that whole, like, tonal shift it has does sort of come out of nowhere for how, like, goddamn gut-wrenching it is, so I wish they kind of set that up a little bit more. But other than that, and the beginning is a little slow, but otherwise, yeah, I stick by my 9 out of 10. And like I said, check it out if you can stomach it, because, oh boy, I almost couldn't. But in any case, guys, from Greyshot17, I'll see you all next time. Hey guys, and before I go, I want to give a special shout out once again to Joey, Ace, Sean, Sejones, Leonard, Lou, Nick, Levings, and Tim. Thank you all for your awesome support, and I'll see you guys next time.